Once upon a time in a little house, there lived a family with a Mama, Papa, Oma, Opa, Arto, Mia, and Liesel. One day, something very important was happening. Papa, who was also known as Soldier Erich Wolf, had to go away to join the German army. This made everyone very sad, especially Arto, who was only 7 years old. Arto was so upset that he kept shouting, "Hitler is a toad," over and over. Everyone in the family tried to calm him down, because they were worried it was dangerous to say things like that. Mama covered her mouth in shock, and Papa reminded Arto that to say bad things about Hitler. But Arto was too full of feelings to listen. Papa looked very serious in his uniform, and it was hard for everyone to see him ready to leave. Liesel, the narrator, tried to be brave and said they all loved Hitler, but inside, everyone was worried and scared. Then, Otto noticed something strange. A picture of Adolf Hitler, their leader, was turned toward the wall, not facing them as it should be. Arto and Liesel wondered who did it. It turned out Opa, their grandfather, had turned the picture because he thought the children's messy eating habits shouldn't be seen by Hitler. Opa made everyone laugh by describing how Otto ate with his mouth open, and Mia, the little one, made a mess with her food. To make things right, Opa turned the picture back. Papa then asked the children to behave well while he was gone, but there was a hint of sadness in his voice. The family hugged Papa tightly, creating a big hug blob, which was their favorite way to be together. Liesel noticed Papa smelled different, like sorrow. Finally, it was time for Papa to leave. Arto and Liesel watched from the window as Papa joined other men from their village. They were all going to be soldiers, even though some were very old or too young, like their neighbor Jacob. Arto, quickly shifting from sad to excited, asked if he could go outside to play. Mama said yes and told him to take Mia in her pram. Arto and Mia went outside, and Liesel stayed inside, missing Papa already. She sat in Papa's chair, trying to feel close to him, and whispered to herself that Papa would be home soon. In a cozy house, Liesel called to her Opa from the top of the basement stairs that supper was ready. But Opa had a surprise for her. Down in the dimly lit basement, Opa showed Liesel a pair of boots he had crafted just for her. They were unique, one brown and the other black, made from 2 old pairs of boots. Liesel was a bit surprised at first, but then she realized how special and important these boots were, especially since new boots were hard to come by during the war. That evening, the family gathered for a special supper with delicious soup and a cherry cake that Mama had baked. Mia, Liesel's little sister, enjoyed the cake so much that she ended up with cream and cherries in her hair, which made everyone laugh. Arto, Liesel's brother, dreamed aloud about his ideal birthday cake, different from the one they were eating but still delightful. Oma shared a funny story about the first cake she baked for Opa after their wedding, which turned out salty because she accidentally used salt instead of sugar. It was a light moment, filled with laughter and love, even though there was an underlying sadness because Papa was away. At bedtime, the family sang nursery rhymes to Mia, and Mama tucked Liesel and Arto into bed. But bedtime stories were different now. Instead of traditional fairy tales, Arto always wanted stories about a brave German soldier named Arto and a girl named Liesel who needed rescuing. Arto's imagination was full of battles and adventures, influenced by the ongoing war. Despite the fantastical elements, every story ended with a happy ending, with Liesel and Arto safe and sound. After the story, Mama shared a touching moment with Liesel and Arto, expressing how much Papa loved each of them and their unique qualities. Liesel asked Mama if the war was almost over, hoping for good news. Mama assured her it was, but her eyes were sad, leaving Liesel feeling a mix of hope and confusion. On a chilly autumn day, Liesel, a young girl, faced the cold with one hand snugly in a red mitten and the other turning blue from the cold. She had lost one of her mittens. Despite the chill, Liesel was grateful for the warmth of her unique boots, one brown and one black, a gift from her Opa. As Liesel and her brother Otto walked to school, Otto playfully pretended to be an airplane, zooming around and dropping imaginary bombs. Arriving at school, Liesel began sneezing repeatedly. Her teacher, Fräulein Hoffmann, wondered if Liesel was sick. Liesel thought it might be because of the dust and ash in the air from a distant city, Nannestad, which had been bombed. However, Fräulein Hoffmann dismissed this, insisting that Nannestad was fine, and that the British bombers had only hit old warehouses. In their crowded schoolroom, Fräulein Hoffmann conducted the class with strict discipline, reminding Liesel of a military operation. The classroom was packed because many teachers were away at war, and more students meant more warmth in the cold room. Liesel enjoyed school, particularly learning about Germany's supposed contributions to civilization. After school, while walking home, Otto paused suddenly, hearing the sound of marching boots. They ran back and saw hundreds of soldiers marching by. Otto cheered for them, and one soldier assured them they had Adolf Hitler on their side. Some soldiers gave Liesel and Otto chocolate bars and a can of condensed milk, a rare treat during the war. Feeling proud and excited, Liesel and Otto shouted "Heil Hitler" as the soldiers marched away. Savoring their chocolate bars on the way home, Liesel and Otto were filled with mixed feelings. Otto loved the excitement the war brought, but missed their papa. Liesel, sharing the last piece of chocolate with Otto, expressed hope for even better times after the war. On December 23rd, Liesel and her mama embarked on a special Christmas shopping trip, not for presents but for food. School had been reduced to shorter hours due to the harsh winter, conserving firewood and leaving the classroom bitterly cold. The previous day, Otto's tongue had gotten stuck to icy window pane, prompting a gentle reminder from Fräulein Hoffmann to be sensible and safe. Filled with excitement and laughter, Liesel and her mama hopped over frozen puddles, singing Christmas songs. They were on a mission to gather ingredients for a festive meal. Living in the countryside of East Prussia, they were fortunate to have access to fresh farm produce. Mama's strategy was to buy little from each farm, ensuring they didn't ask for too much and always paid well. Their efforts paid off, and they collected a bounty of food, including a prized pork sausage. Liesel dreamt of her father joining them for Christmas, but Mama gently reminded her not to get her hopes up. Despite this, they continued their shopping, maintaining a cheerful spirit. The final stop was at the Kruger farm, where Mama exchanged her precious pearl necklace for a goose. Liesel felt a mix of emotions, frustration at the apparent unfairness of the trade and excitement for the roast goose they would enjoy. While imagining the delicious meal they would prepare, Liesel and Mama encountered a column of soldiers returning from the front. These soldiers were not the proud, energetic men they had seen before, but were weary, injured, and defeated. Liesel was struck by the contrast and the reality of the war's toll on these young men. A wounded soldier grasping at her mama's skirt whispered of the war's true horrors, leaving Liesel and her mother in a somber silence. In a desperate attempt to lift spirits, Liesel shouted "Heil Hitler" to the soldiers, but none responded. It was a poignant moment that revealed the stark difference between the ideals propagated by the regime and the grim reality faced by its soldiers. In the Wolf household, Liesel was brushing her teeth, while her brother Otto was fascinated with Opa's false teeth, pretending they were a small creature. Opa, amused, insisted Otto focus on cleaning his own teeth next. Liesel felt uneasy, recalling Otto's fascination with war games and Opa's comment about surrendering his teeth to the Russians. Later, Liesel overheard Mama and Oma in the kitchen discussing the high price Mama paid for the Christmas goose her pearl necklace. Oma was upset, fearing the harsh post-war reality where even basic necessities might cost a fortune. Their conversation left Liesel feeling cold and fearful about the future. Instead of joining Mama and Oma, Liesel went back upstairs, unsettled by what she had heard. When Mama came to sing nursery rhymes to Mia, the song about baking a cake reminded them of the recent conversation, dampening the mood further. Mama's bedtime story was unenthusiastic, and she excused herself, citing the need to prepare for Christmas. Arto, unable to sleep without a story, asked Liesel to tell one about the end of the war. Liesel, troubled by Oma's words and the unsettling thoughts about the future, found it difficult, but eventually relented. She began to weave a fanciful tale, painting a picture of a victorious and prosperous Germany after the war, filled with parades, new clothes, abundant food, and happiness, a stark contrast to the grim reality they were living in. As Arto fell asleep, Liesel continued her story, creating an increasingly fantastical world to escape the harsh truths. She imagined a life of endless joy and comfort, where their father would return, and they would live happily ever after. It was a story Liesel told not just for Arto, but for herself, to find some solace and hope in a time filled with uncertainty and fear. On Christmas Eve, the Wolf family gathered around their dinner table, celebrating with joy and laughter. Arto played with his toy airplane, Mia learned to say goose, and there was a small Christmas tree adorned with candles and presents. The atmosphere was filled with happiness and warmth, a stark contrast to the harsh winter outside. The night took an unexpected turn when Liesel, expecting her father to return, opened the door to find a telegram delivery boy instead. She immediately sensed that the telegram brought bad news from the war. Before she could react, he handed her the telegram, apologizing for its contents. Simultaneously, their neighbor Jacob's family received a similar telegram, leading to cries of anguish from Jacob's mother and sister, Krista. The two families shared a silent, sorrowful connection as they processed the devastating news. The telegram revealed that Papa was missing in action. The family was stunned, grappling with the uncertainty and fear of what this meant. Arto, in his anger and grief, lashed out against Hitler, calling him a rat and accusing him of lying and causing their father's disappearance. Opa quickly silenced Arto, fearing the consequences of speaking against Hitler. Liesel tried to comfort Arto by comparing their father's disappearance to a lost red mitten, suggesting that he might just be lost and could return unexpectedly. Arto, however, was adamant that missing meant death, a realization too heavy for a child of his age. In the aftermath of receiving the devastating telegram about Papa, the atmosphere in the Wolf household became heavy with grief and frustration. Opa, normally reserved with his criticisms, began openly expressing his anger and resentment towards the situation, specifically targeting Hitler with his angry outbursts. His comments revealed a deep-seated fear and disillusionment with the war, as he predicted even more desperate measures by the government, like sending the elderly and very young into battle. Oma tried to shield Liesel from these harsh words, aware of their impact on the young girl. Mama, overwhelmed by the news of her husband being missing in action, retreated to her bed for 3 days, emerging visibly changed by her grief. In a symbolic act of defiance and a break from the facade of loyalty, she turned Hitler's portrait towards the wall, indicating her rejection of the lies and propaganda that had fueled their hope and patriotism. Mama's gesture was a powerful moment, marking a shift in the family's perception of the war and their leader. In the midst of a harsh winter, school was cancelled indefinitely, leaving the children of the Wolf family to find other ways to occupy their time. Opa, coping with the grim news about Papa, expressed his fear and anger more openly, predicting desperate measures in the war effort. Mama, still deeply affected by the news, made a symbolic gesture of turning Hitler's portrait toward the wall, a sign of her disillusionment. Despite the lack of formal education, the family found ways to learn and laugh together, creating their own lessons and moments of joy round the kitchen stove. Liesel, Arto, and Mia engaged in storytelling and games, bringing some normalcy to their days. Yet, the reality of their situation was never far from their minds, especially when Mia's first sentence was a plea for her absent father. One day, Liesel ventured outside into the snowy streets, seeking solace in the quiet beauty of the winter landscape. There, she experienced a moment of hope when a stray cow, a symbol of the chaos and disruption caused by the war, unexpectedly licked her cheek. This encounter, though odd, rekindled a sense of hope in Liesel, a hope that things could still turn out all right. Back at home, the family's reactions to Liesel's story about the cow were mixed. Oma initially supported Liesel's newfound hope, but later conversations revealed her and Opa's growing concern about the advancing Russian army and the dangers they faced. Opa suggested they should prepare to flee, contrary to the orders to stand and defend, revealing the severity of the situation. Liesel and Arto were in bed, contemplating the grim bit in between the potential arrival of the Russian army in their village. Liesel, trying to comfort Arto and herself, concocted a story about the German army's secret plan to defeat the Russians. But Arto's question lingered, underscoring the fear and uncertainty they all felt about the immediate future. On a winter morning, the tranquility of the Wolf family's home was shattered by urgent knocks and the ringing of church bells. A German soldier, old and wounded, burst in with a dire warning. The Russian army had broken through and was rapidly approaching. The family was told to flee immediately, a stark reversal from the previous orders to stay. As other soldiers echoed the warning throughout the neighborhood, the family's disbelief and confusion gave way to frantic action. Mama, overwhelmed by the sudden turn of events, regretted not fleeing earlier. Opa, equally regretful, lamented not leaving Germany years ago. Liesel, born the same year Hitler rose to power, struggled to reconcile her belief in the Führer's vision with the grim reality unfolding before her. The family hastily packed essential items, but Liesel's practicality shone through as she prioritized necessities like Mia's nappies over Mama's party dress. Mama, realizing her mistake, praised Liesel for her sensibility. They prepared to leave everything behind, with Mama secretly sewing family jewels into their clothing for safekeeping. Dressed in multiple layers to brave the frigid weather, they prepared to depart in a cart Opa had acquired. Before leaving, Mama made Liesel promise to keep Arto and Mia safe, no matter what happened. This request, filled with fear and urgency, left Liesel shaken but resolute. The exciting story is not over yet, worthy of your careful appreciation of the author's work.